Welcome to Godfather TV with your host, Jeff Dennis, Chuck Encinius, Technical Director, Al Mead. Tonight's guest, Scott LePage.
Hey, this is John with Rocket Queen, and you're watching Godfather TV.
Metal Up World, this is CJ, the Metal Motivator, and you're watching Godfather TV. Ha ha, don't suck, Metal Up.
Godfather TV is on the air.
Hello, DFW. Welcome back to Godfather TV. It seems like we've had like over 100 episodes, but really this is only our, fifth episode? And before we get into introductions and stuff like that, I just want to ask you guys out there, do any of you guys ever have that not so fresh feeling? I've been experiencing that for about a week now. What I've done is I've had a hot honey and onion enema. Does wonders. So if you're interested, get with me. I'll give you the recipe. But on another note, I'd like to introduce here, as always, our production god back there, Mr. Al Mead. How you doing, Al?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
And as always, I want to introduce the Godfather himself, Mr. Jeff Dennis. What's up, Jeff?
Howdy, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again. Today we have a special episode. We have the legendary New Jersey metalhead Scott LePage, who lives in Texas now, in Plano, right?
Plano.
Area somewhere in there?
Yep.
And we're going to touch up on some old stories from New Jersey, New York days, and then find out what he's been doing since then, since he's been in Texas. So without further ado, here's Scotty LePage.
What's up? Actually, not Scotty LePage.
Not Scotty, Scott.
If you look at his Instagram page, it's not Scotty LePage.
You want to know the story behind that?
Tell us.
So my son, Scott LePage, Scotty LePage, he's in Polyphia. And Polyphia, as they were growing, they started getting tagged on Instagram as Instagram was growing. So I kept getting tagged because my name was Scott LePage, so they would just search Scott LePage, I guess, and just tag something. So I changed my name to not Scotty LePage. It worked.
Genius. Ingenious.
It worked. I stopped getting tagged.
Did your traffic drop off like that?
Yeah. Now I have one like per picture.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's awesome. But anyway, long time no see, man. How you been?
Pretty good, you?
Been surviving. You heard the enema thing.
I see you on YouTube on this Godfather TV channel.
That was Jeff's idea. Well, no.
That was your idea.
It was our drunk idea.
Yeah.
But we don't drink no more, so. Well, I don't.
Anyway, locally, you guys might have seen Scott play in tribute bands. He was in Back in Black. He was in Judas Rising. He was in Dreamer Deceiver. He was the original vocalist, James Hetfield character for Kill 'Em All. And I think he had a 90s flannel type band or something.
Taste of Flannel.
Taste of
That's
Flannel.
how it all started.
Right?
Yeah.
So
He's been around the clubs for the last, 15 years and stuff, but the reason I wanted to talk to him is because he's from the New Jersey area back in the 80s, and most of us metalheads back then knew about Sunset Strip and the Bay Area thrash and little certain sections around the country that had these little scenes, but if you know metal, you know that a lot was happening up in the New Jersey, New York area in the 80s, and that's what I want to hear about, what was going on then. He was in a band called Hades, Metal Blade recording artist, and I'm pretty sure you played L'Amour's.
Yes.
And I want to hear some stories about all them clubs up there, and just whatever you can enlighten us about those days.
Sure. So, man, it all started for me playing guitar. I started on drums, actually, and I was a friend of mine in high school. I was into Southern rock and Allman Brothers and the Doors and stuff like that. I still am. But I met this kid in high school named Joe D'Angeli, and he played guitar and I was playing drums, and somehow we got into discussion to start a band and everything, and then I had got a guitar and I started playing guitar, and he said, well, I always wanted to play the drums, so we swapped, right? So we started a band called Prophecy, and we did covers of Black Sabbath covers, and we did Deep Purple and Dio, stuff like that. So we started playing around and meeting some people, and then we got a band together and we started doing a gig, and we met this guy who was a bass player, Dennis DeRoe, and he was into Sabbath and stuff, and he turned us on into Venom, really. So one day we decided to drive to Staten Island and go see Venom, because we all love Venom, and this is, I guess, 1982-ish. No, 1983. And so we're looking in the paper, because we didn't have cell phones with internet on it, and the paper said Venom, so we bought tickets, and the opening band was Metallica or something like that. I don't know. So we didn't know who they were.
Young upstarts.
So we went to the local record store. It was called Pyramid Records in Bergenfield, New Jersey, and we asked the guy, he's like, "You have any Metallica albums?" And he's like, "No, I don't know what that is." So he looked it up, and we never went back. So we went to see this band, and it was Metallica. So it was one of Kirk Hammett's first couple of gigs, and all their equipment on stage said Anthrax, and we knew Anthrax and Overkill from the area. So we go see Venom, and this Metallica opens up for him, and it was Cliff and everyone. There was about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 people in the club. Wow. And holy crap, that was when I realized this is what I'm totally into now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from Metallica, we went back to Pyramid Records after the show. Of course, Venom was awesome too. And
did it get more crowded when Venom came on?
No, that was it. Yeah, and it was.
They didn't do too many shows in America back then. I was wondering about that.
No, that was early. So we went back to Pyramid Records and said, "We want to buy this Metallica album." He said, "There is no such thing." So so we did some more research, and we found that the Old Bridge Militia in New Jersey, they were housing Metallica and feeding them and bringing them up, and we found out that they were recording an album. So in the meantime, we went back and forth to Lemoore, and we saw Overkill and Anthrax, and Slayer came by. This was before Metallica album, but anyway, Kill 'Em All came out, and that's all I did. I listened to Kill 'Em All, and I played guitar to Kill 'Em All every single day after school, nonstop.
Nice.
So you were in high school when all this was going on?
Yeah.
Like
So
15, 16 years old?
Yeah, so that was 83, right, when Kill 'Em All came out?
Yep.
Yeah, so
October. No.
So that was pretty much, I forgot the month, but it didn't matter.
I think it was August or September. I mean, I should know this, but.
So I learned my thrash chops playing the Kill 'Em All. And after that, it was just all thrash. So Slayer, Exodus, Overkill. Anthrax first album. I mean, I'm not a huge Anthrax fan.
Mm-hmm.
The first album was great.
I love Fistful of Metal.
Fistful of Metal is great. I don't want to talk bad about any band, but Joey Belladonna was not my favorite type of singer for that. But and then
Neil Turbin was on.
I love Neil
Turbin,
Turbin.
yeah.
I thought he was kick-ass.
Yeah, that was great. And then from that, it just went out to the crossover bands. Big DRI fan. Not that Dead Kennedys was a crossover band, but I listened to a lot of Dead Kennedys, Exploited, Cro-Mags, Crumbsuckers. And all those bands were from the area or came through.
I remember that.
Yeah, so after, I don't want to say Kill 'Em All was the beginning of it, but it was the beginning of it for me.
Right.
But after that, it was just all this new music just started approaching the scene and coming at me and coming at everyone, and it was a good time. After that, I got into this band called Hades. So after Prophecy, we met Dan from Hades. They were looking for a guitar player and I think a bass player at the time too. Yeah, bass player. So I forgot how it got all set up, but when Prophecy used to play, we would play, churches and roller rinks and all that stuff. And one time, I remember we were playing this school, and I forgot the town in New Jersey, and we see all this hair walk in, right? I mean, hair down to the waist. And we're like, there's the guys from Hades. Hades are here to see us. So they were just there to check us out, but, Hades, at that time in New Jersey, they were like the band.
Right.
They cover band, they had that little 45 that came out. And so they were big in the scene, so we all wanted to be like Hades, right? So somehow I get this audition in Hades, and I got the gig on guitar, And that was, I did the first album with Hades called Resisting Success, and
That was on Metal Blade, right?
that was on Torrid Records.
Okay.
Yeah, so Torrid Records at that time had two bands, Exodus and Hades was the second band. So Bonded by Blood was on Torrid. And I don't know what they did much after that, but with Hades, we got to open for Megadeth and I forgot all the bands we opened for, but mostly a Lemoore circuit and the circuit around Lemoore.
What were some of the other big clubs, and besides Lemoore? I mean, did you ever do like CBGBs, or
No.
it's too small, isn't it?
I never played CB's. It wasn't really a metal place. We played, there was a place in New York City called Danceteria. It was it's like a 4 or 5 story place, and each level had its own thing. Like I think the bands were on the one level, and then above that was like dance music, and above that was house music or something like that. But that was pretty cool. Madonna had played there like shortly after,
Right.
or before we played there, when she was, you know, just up and coming. Limelight was big in New York. China Club.
What was that club that you got Taylor a gig at?
That was Dingbats. That was
Dingbats.
in New Jersey.
Oh,
Dingbats.
okay, but was it?
I don't think that was around back
too?
then, though, was it? That's
No.
more famous for the last 20 years.
Oh,
more
gotcha.
so than it
I
back
didn't know
then.
that, yeah.
Yeah, Dingbats is big. That's a big metal club now.
Yeah,
They
that's
weren't
awesome.
there in the early 80s.
But Lemoore is the one what was it like there? I mean, I just always wanted to go there my whole life. I just said, man, I got to go to Lemoore, but closed. By the time I got up there, it was closed.
Lemoore was awesome. At that time, it was, everybody played there, everybody went there. I mean, it was in a not so good part of town. We all risked our lives in our
In
cars.
Brooklyn, right? It was in
It
Brooklyn?
was in Brooklyn, yeah. It was about an hour drive from where we lived, but man, we would go there probably once a month. I mean, anyone who played there, again, you know, Overkill, Exodus, Manowar, saw Slayer, I saw Metallica there twice, both with Cliff, on the Ride the Lightning tour, and yeah, and Kill 'Em All. The Raven, Kill 'Em All for One
Yep.
tour.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was at Lemoore also. It's a long time ago, man.
Right?
I know. Oh,
I might have some of these wrong.
Yeah, it's okay. But
Yeah, I got
that's-
to
that's-
see-
that's
So
awesome.
Lemoore was great. So think of like the Galaxy Club, right? It was small, it was heavy.
But with all the biggest bands going on at that time, coming there nonstop.
Right, yeah, and everybody went there. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I've heard
you
nothing.
see the same faces.
What was the name of the club that Anthrax played at, that was like their last ditch effort to get signed? It was called like the Palace or something. Was it up in that area too?
I don't remember.
I watched it on a documentary and I can't freaking remember the name of it, sorry. But, yeah, I thought maybe it was like the Palace or something like that.
The Paramount was in Staten Island.
Maybe.
That's where I saw,
It was like a bigger venue, it held like 1,200 people, maybe more than that. And that was like their last ditch effort to get signed. And after that, they were gonna call it quits. But I guess Megaforce signed them after that.
Y'all did Twisted Sister, played with Twisted Sister before I think you weren't in the band yet,
right.
right?
Yeah, I wasn't in the band. I think they were mostly a cover band at that
Right.
point. Yeah, that was at the Soap Factory in New Jersey, which wasn't really a metal club as far as I remember, but it had all sorts of different type of music. But yeah, I didn't play at the Soap Factory with Hades. That was before my time. Did open for Megadeth. I took a leak next to Mustaine. He was very, very, very drunk.
No, not Dave.
Back in those days, huh?
Yeah,
I'm sure it was more than just drinking,
that was in the Killing Is
Dave.
My Business tour.
right?
So why was your stay with Hades so short? I mean, I know you've been filling in on certain songs and playing, you're like credited on almost every one of the records, but why was your official membership so short?
Right.
But Hades was, so in high school and after high school, you know, it's just wanted to be a musician, wanted to be in a band. And when I got into Hades, we started doing some stuff, you know, did an album, getting some decent shows, starting to gain some traction. Parallel to that, I was going to school. and I also was interning at a recording studio. And I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like the music business. I was tired of being broke and hungry and driving a piece of crap car. So I wasn't going to quit the band at that point, but Hades got a European tour, and I had just got out of school, and I had just got a job, and I would have had to quit my job to go on tour with Hades, which in hindsight, I don't know if it was the right thing to do or not, but so I said I can't do the tour. I can't do the Hades tour. Dan was crushed, and because me and Dan were pretty close. We are still close, but at the time we were pretty close. But I knew a guy that could replace me in Hades, and he did. And they took him on tour, and he ended up playing guitar on the second album. Actually, the rest of the albums, he was the second guitar player. But yeah, I told him I can't do the tour, so I quit, or I don't remember if I had to quit or not. But that was it. And even working in a recording studio, it was long hours. It was low pay, if any. And
you wanted to make some money in life. You didn't want to just struggle through like some of these other musicians.
I did, yeah. I wanted to be able to support myself.
Yeah.
And, maybe if I waited it out longer, something could have happened. But
Were you and Tracy together at that point?
yes.
Yeah. Well, you guys support your.
We were dating, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Wow.
were dating at the time. And
But you came back and did the bass, right, on the bass tracks on the second album?
yeah, so Hades 2.0. So after the second album, which I didn't play on, I actually,
I thought you did bass on that one. I thought you told me you had done
I
bass.
think I might have played bass on one song.
Yeah.
And I sang backups. And after that, Hades broke up. So maybe I did make the right choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Hades broke up and went on hiatus, I guess, for years. And then in 94, 95, Dan said, I want to put the band back together. You want to play bass. But he didn't want to tour or really do shows. He just wanted to do some albums. So he got some album deals. And I played bass on an album called Save Yourself. And then we did another one after that, Exist to Resist.
Mm-hmm.
And I played bass on that also. But we didn't do any support shows or anything like that
No,
for those albums.
not
And
till
then-
the second reunion, right?
Then they did a third album after that
Yeah.
called Ground Zero NYC, was the name of the song. And I think I played bass on one song on that album. Yeah, I think I played bass on
I
Ground
saw
Zero.
them that year on 2001 at the Classic Metal Fest in Michigan, Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's
Okay,
where-
yeah, so they played a little bit after
Yeah.
that. And then we ended up reuniting with the original drummer. So on all those three albums I just mentioned in the 90s, it was a different drummer. Tommy Coombs, he didn't play drums on that, and Jimmy Shulman didn't play bass, the original bass player and drummer. So I played bass, different drummer, and Dan on guitar, and then Ed, the guy who replaced me on guitar, Ed Furman on lead guitar, and Alan sang. And but after that, we actually did a reunion with the original drummer, and I played lead guitar, and we went to Europe, and we were supposed to do Keep It True festival. And
Tell them about the volcano, Scott.
Oh, man. So we're supposed to do this. So for years, the European festivals were trying to get Hades to come in and play, but the timing wasn't right, the money wasn't right, there was a bunch of other things going on, so we never did it. So finally, this show came through. We got everyone together, or I say we, Dan and Alan mostly, got everyone together. We bought our plane tickets. I came up to New Jersey. We rehearsed one night. We had a show at Dingbats. We did a reunion show at Dingbats, a warm-up tour, and then all our flights got canceled because some volcano in Iceland.
Oh, my
I
God.
remember that.
Which we knew about because I was in Texas at the time, and I knew like, oh, next week I have to go to New Jersey, and then we're going to Germany. And when's this volcano going to settle down? It never did, but none of the flights were totally canceled. Well, when we got to New Jersey, or when I got to New Jersey and we did the show at Dingbats, apparently the wind changed direction, and
God.
all the flights were canceled, so we couldn't go. So that got canceled, and my wife and I, we had a trip planned in Germany.
remember that, yeah.
She was going to come, we were going to stay there and just, take the train around and just travel through Germany. So that never happened. And then a year or two later, we got another offer to play, I forgot what it was, Bang Your Head Festival.
Yeah, it's a good one, too.
Yeah. Hades had done the Wacken shows before that time, but that was without me. So we ended up going to Germany and do the Bang Your Head Festival. And to me, that was better because it was bigger than the Keep It True. And, man, Twisted Sister headlined, Queensryche played, Sanctuary played.
Fate's Warning.
Yeah, Fate's Warning played.
Nice.
Yeah, Fate's Warning, not Sanctuary, Fate's Warning.
Yeah. I forgot who else there was.
Yeah, Sanctuary. I think Sanctuary did play.
What was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Man, there was a lot of bands. So that was a lot of fun. So we ended up going there, but I just ended up flying back. I almost didn't make it back, but had some flight problems on the way back. They were supposed to pick me up at the airport at 4:30 in the morning, so I get out there at 4:30 in the morning. Now, this is in Germany, in the middle of nowhere. There isn't like big hotels in the middle of the city where all the bands stay. The festival was in the middle of Ballingen or something like that.
Bellinger, yeah.
And which is kind of in fields and woods, and there were no hotels. We were all put in like these different little houses, right? And they never came to pick me up. And then I find out later they came, but they came at 3 o'clock in the morning instead of 4:30. So I ended up getting a cab ride, and the guy did like 150 miles per hour down the
Needed to get
highway.
The
there.
Autobahn, man.
Yeah.
Now, besides Hades, you did something with Mucky Pup? I know
Yeah,
they're a real,
so-
real popular punk band up in that area. I've got a couple of their CDs.
So when I quit Hades, so Mucky Pup was started by the singer in the first generation of my first band, Prophecy.
Wow.
So the second generation was where I met Alan, the singer in Hades, Alan Tecchio. And the first generation of Prophecy was me and my friend Joe from high school, guitar, drums. And we auditioned for a bass player. We met our friend Dennis, who introduced us to Venom and some of the other stuff, most of the new wave of British heavy metal bands. And me on guitar. And we auditioned for a singer, and we met this guy, Chris Milnes, from Bergenfield, and he was the first singer in Prophecy. So after I quit Hades, he started a band called Mucky Pup, and it was, I think, a punky band.
Real short songs, like 25 songs on every
Yeah.
CD.
And, they were playing the same clubs as all of us, and, they opened for Hades a bunch of times. And they were in between bass players at the time, and he said, "Hey, we've got an album deal with Torrid Records, and do you want to play bass on the album?" So I said, "Okay, I'm not looking for a full-time band, but I'll fill in on bass for you guys." So I ended up playing bass on Can't You Take a Joke, which was Mucky Pup's first album, and we ended up doing a whole bunch of gigs after that. And the Bloom County comic, remember Bloom County? They started coming back, Bill the Cat and Opus, the Penguin. What do you guys, live in a cave?
Yep.
So they had this contest. So Bill the Cat, the character in Bloom County, had this band called Billy and the Boingers. So Burke Breathed, who wrote the, this is the comic book band, right? So Burke Breathed, the guy who wrote the comic, Bloom County, he put out a contest. I don't even know how he figured it out, but, because there was no internet, newspaper, in the comic, I don't know. So he was having a contest he needs a song, a real song, for Billy and the Boingers. And he was going to put out a comic, not a hard copy, like a soft copy book with all his comics, and he was going to have one of them little vinyl 45s inside, right? Those flexible ones. So we recorded a song called You Stink But I Love You, and we submitted it, or Chris Milnes submitted it, and we won.
Nice.
Nice.
So we won, I don't know, some money and our names on this book and on this little album. I don't remember, but I remember we went out to dinner, we got a limo, we went out to dinner with the money that we won. But that was fun. So for a temporary bass player in Mucky Pup, did quite a lot. So then after that, they replaced me, they got a full-time bass player, Dave Nieborn. He also was in a band called Doggy Dog after that. But that was my stint in Mucky Pup. It was temporary, but it was fun. We did a lot of gigs and, playing on an album. Cool. And I helped produce their second album, Boy in a Man's World, and I played bass on one song on that album.
They have a great song called She Queefed. Look it up.
She queefed.
Look it up.
I did not play on that album.
Okay.
I did not make any.
All right, so
sounds.
then after all that, you end up in Texas. What brought you here, a job offer, or?
Yeah, where at the job I was at the time, I met this guy who was contracting for us, and then he had moved to Texas a year before us.
The
He
90s,
called-
it was the 90s, or?
This was 97.
97.
Yeah, he called me up and said, hey, it's big time down here. I was in telecom. You want to move down? So I did. And during that time, I was not doing any music for anything for about 6 years. Before that, I was in a cover band. So after Mucky Pup, I joined a cover band who my friend started, one of the other thrash bands from the area called Prowler. Mike Cusimano and Mike Malinsky, the guitar and bass player in Prowler, and the drummer, Jerry, we got together and started a band called Angry Drunk Men. And the singer also, Steve Feinroth. So all the Prowler guys and me on guitar, and we did classic metal covers and some thrash covers, Metallica, Motorhead, Kiss, AC/DC. But then after that, when I moved to Texas, I didn't do anything for about 6 years.
And that's when you started your flannel, tribute to flannel?
So after 6 years, I started getting the itch. I wanted to play again. So I met a guy I worked with. He was in a blues band. He played bass. So this was Craig Martin. And he said, oh, my singer, guitar player moved to Austin for work, and he was coming back up. He was going to get his band together. I said, well, if you're looking for a guitar player, I could play. So I auditioned for his band, and we were called Texas Mojo. And we played blues, covers. I guess most blues songs are covers. We wrote a few songs. So I did that for about 5 or 6 years, just playing the local clubs in the area, Hole in the Wall and the Cottage Lounge, and we did some festivals and things like that. But it was mostly fun. I like playing the blues. It was fun. But then I started getting an itch. I needed to play something else, something a little heavier. So I answered an ad on Craigslist for a 90s tribute band, and that was Jeff Cooper.
Cooper.
Okay, yeah.
Was that before your audition for Made in Texas?
Yes.
Okay, so you auditioned
Yeah.
for Made in Texas after that. Okay.
So I got this gig in this 90s tribute band called Taste of Flannel, and we played a few shows, but we couldn't hold on to members, so the band was just,
I saw them a couple times.
yeah,
Good stuff.
it was fun.
Not my favorite era of music, but they did some good ones, so I sat through it.
What was the first singer's name? He actually.
Mike Scott.
Yeah, Mike Scott. And then Doug replaced him, right? Doug Vines?
Dixon played in it for a little bit.
That's right,
Brian
Dixon
Dixon
was in
played a
there.
little bit. We did a couple of gigs, and then Doug.
Doug came in.
Yeah.
That's right. Mike decided to go corporate. I think he started a corporate band.
Yeah, when he was in the band, he was pushing us to go in that direction,
Yeah.
and we didn't want to do it.
Right, yeah.
So he left. But yeah, we couldn't hold on to members. It was a great band. We were good, and I coming from thrash and metal and everything, I love grunge. And so it was fun for me to play that stuff. So we rehearsed in this place where this other band called Judas Rising rehearsed, and that's how I met Chuck.
Yep,
So while we were leaving, you guys were coming in,
that's right.
and I think that was about when you guys were losing your guitar player. No, Tim was already in the band, and
That must have been later, because
There was a lot of
There's
lineup
a lot
changes.
of lineup changes there.
Judas Rising had a different lineup every time I saw him, it seemed. for a
70
while.
members of the
it was,
afternoon?
Tim was there, Tim was there, and then Jimmy had to leave because Jimmy Adcock, he had to leave.
Yes, I took Jimmy's spot.
So we had a
Before
couple.
that, Russell Contreras was before Tim.
Well, even before
Lance Watts
that,
was singer.
I was talking to these guys about that the other night, and I don't know if you guys know Jake Crawford. He plays for Incognito. He's actually the very first guitar player or actually second guitar player. Him and Johnny Fig were actually the original guitar players for that band. Jeff Cooper was the original drummer. I was the third drummer they had. But when we hired Scott, we had a couple of auditions, and they just didn't go good at all. And I remember going outside, and I was one guy that we had in there, great guitar player, you know, and he was just doing Yngwie scales all over the place. And he was doing the leads, but he didn't know any of the rhythms. So it was that. So we took a break, and I went out there, and the first thing I told Brian is, we'll call Scott as soon as we're done here. Get Scott in here on Thursday. And sure enough, Scott came prepared, and that was the end of it, you know. Scott had the gig when he showed up, when he plugged in and started playing, that was it.
Yeah, I like to do the songs as close as physically possible, physically meaning as I can play, you know.
And at that time, that's what I needed as a drummer, somebody like Scott, because he's pretty militant when it comes to that stuff. He even knows the drum parts. So if something wasn't right timing-wise or something, we'd stop and we'd work it out. That's a good thing that Scott has taught me over the years, is to, you know, don't argue with your guitar player, especially when he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and then next
All
thing I
fun.
know, you got Kill 'Em All coming out, and there's Chuck again in that band, and you're playing James Hetfield. I'm like, that was awesome. And you were only doing the first album. When the first time I saw you, you only did the first album.
Kill 'Em All was a party joke.
Party band. Well,
So,
yeah, tell
I
him.
had a,
Birthday party.
so after Judas Rising, you know, you mentioned Made in Texas. Before Judas Rising, I auditioned for Made in Texas, and I did not get the gig, even though I played every solo, note for note.
Todd, that was your replacement right there. Anyway,
No, it was Anthony.
was it Anthony?
Well,
No, you were gonna replace Todd, right? Because Rizzo was always there, or maybe
think
Todd
so,
had
yeah.
left and.
Yeah, Rizzo was there, but
Rizzo
Anthony
was
came to
there.
the house, and, well, anyway, they went with someone else. That's fine. So I got in Judas Rising, and I had a party at my house, and of course, everyone.
Well, let's premise this before that. Before, what was going on is that, okay, we were in Judas Rising. I was also in From Creation at the time, and we were all using that same room. What happened was our singer, or our guitar player in From Creation, decided to go do an album with another guy, and it was kind of taking up a whole lot of time, and you know, it turned out to be a great album. You know, I don't want to talk bad about anything, but we had a lot of time in our hands, and you know, sometimes we'd show up for Judas Rising rehearsal, and we'd start playing Metallica songs.
Forgot about that, yeah.
And that's how Kill 'Em All kind of came about, is we started playing Metallica songs, and we went to Scott's birthday party one night. It was his birthday back in 2010.
Okay.
No, it was 2010. That's how I remember how long we've been together, because it was born in 2010 on your birthday, Kill 'Em All. So, yeah, Scott.
And I said to Chuck, and it was me and you and Tim.
Yep.
And I said, man, I always wanted, because we were talking about the Metallica songs that we were jamming, which I totally forgot about that.
Yeah,
You know,
dude,
we
that's
used
how
to-
it came about,
We used
yeah.
to do that. And I said, man, I always just wanted to play just the Kill 'Em All album, from start to finish, note for note, exactly. And Chuck said, yo, man, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I don't say no to anything, especially
it.
that, dude. I've always wanted to be in a Metallica tribute. And if it hadn't been for Scott, all the stuff that we've been doing with Kill 'Em All now and before would have never happened.
But
So,
like Darren said last week,
yeah.
mentioned this to Scott, he goes, you can't just play that first album. You gotta throw in Master of Puppets,
Yeah.
you gotta throw in Sandman. The crowd's gonna lose their mind if they don't hear those songs, you know?
Depends on who the crowd is.
Yeah,
Tell me who
he
the
goes, if
crowd
you're
is.
gonna
Right.
play House of Blues, you better play those songs.
And
That's
we
right.
were,
He's
and
right, yeah.
the way Scott was explaining it is that
He
we
talks
only
about
wanted to
that.
do like, what, 2 or 3 gigs a year, just play nothing but the Kill 'Em All album and
Yeah, start to finish in order.
in order. We
And
did that.
and I thought, like, who's going to want to do that? You know, it was just a fantasy of mine. And then Tim said, I'll do it.
You're right.
And then Jesse was in From Creation.
Right, and then we all said, well, let's try and get Jesse, because, you know, we needed somebody to play anesthesia, and Jesse was that guy. So, you know, we all said, well, if Jesse can't do it, then we might not do it. But sure enough, Jesse was on board, and
Jesse came and played anesthesia.
note for note, man.
Oh, my God. Jesse was the best guitar player in the band.
Yep,
And
yep.
he played bass.
And he's still the best guitar player in all the bands, you know what I mean? He's
Sorry,
amazing.
Tim, but Tim said the same thing.
Yeah, Tim
so-
said the same thing.
so
We
it's
love
cool.
Tim, man. But
Yeah, so Kill 'Em All spawned, And we just learned, I mean, I already knew it because I've been playing Kill 'Em All since
And I already knew it
1983.
too,
And so we played all the songs and we rehearsed, and
I remember this when our first rehearsal, and I think we only lacked like 2 songs off the album after our first rehearsal. And I was playing those parts, and I remember Scott looking back at me and goes, "Chuck, you know what? You're doing pretty good for an old chubby guy." I always remember that. Just thank you very much. You know.
remember that one gig you, way in the forward now, you did 3 shows, I think.
Yeah,
in
dude,
Little
that
Elm.
was at Amplified. Well, Gas Monkey back then.
No, it was in Little Elm at the end zone, I think, or something like that. And you
Rock
did,
101?
Was it Rock 101?
yeah. You did 3 sets, and I think we played Whiplash. No, we played Motor Breath. Sorry. And you were tired and sweaty, and we started it, and I stopped the song, and I said, "Faster!"
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And I
Chuck,
went faster.
faster,
I went
faster.
faster.
Yeah, and you did it.
Scott was trying to keep up.
But Kill 'Em All, so after we got all that together, we got our first gig, and I sang. I always wanted to sing. I could figure I can carry a tune, I could sing well, but I never sang lead, right? And during practice, you can not do well, you can tone down a little bit. So the first gig was at O'Reilly's, and I pushed
Too hard.
I pushed too hard, and to this day, I could still sing, but I'm not a singer. Singing for a band means a lot more than being able to carry a tune. You got to be able to have the stamina, and I learned a lot.
And play the songs at the same time.
That wasn't a problem.
Being a front man as well, that's
Yeah.
another thing too.
Just having the stamina and the vocal stamina to do that for 40 minutes or an hour and a half.
Yep.
Some gigs was something I struggled with. Dixon gave me a lot of pointers, on YouTube. I learned a lot. I got better, but it's hard, man.
Well, by the time you left, dude, you were killing it. I mean, you know what I mean? I thought.
Yeah, I
You know what
got
mean?
better. I got stronger.
Especially
but,
on the older stuff, like from Kill 'Em all the way up to even all the Master of Puppets stuff that you were doing. It was awesome. You know what I mean? It was awesome.
It was fun, yeah. I had a good time. The early Hetfield days was a little bit easier for me to sing.
Right.
Like you mentioned, Chuck wanted us to open for Back in Black. This was before I was in Back in Black, and they said, "Well, you got to play."
Well, before we get into that, what happened was is that we opened up for him in Sherman. Remember that
they
freaking
hated it.
country bar?
That's right.
And Mike Mraz comes up to me and he goes, "What the hell?" He goes, "Where's one? Where's Master of Puppets? Where's the Unforgiven?"
That's right.
I go, "Dude, we're doing nothing but the Kill 'Em All album." He's like, "Well, if you want to play with us and if you want to play House of Blues, you're gonna have to learn these songs." So I go, "Okay, well, we'll talk about it." And not too long after that, Darren calls me. He says, "Hey, we have a show the day after Thanksgiving at House of Blues, and we want you to open up for us. But you got to learn Master of Puppets."
And Enter Sandman.
And
He said those two.
Enter
Enter
Sandman.
Sandman, yeah.
So we did that, and then we learned Ride the Lightning, and
I
there's a
didn't
couple
want to
others.
do it, but I wanted to play the bigger shows just
Yeah.
like you. But
Yeah.
Jesse said, "I'll only be in this band if we only play Cliff."
Right,
So
exactly.
Jesse was the one to convince, and he said, "Sure." So we learned Enter Sandman, Master of Puppets, one.
For whom the bell
Master of
tolls.
Puppets. The Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets stuff, Jesse was cool with. I
Right.
was cool with. Then we did Fuel. We did, Leper Messiah. We started
Dude, we
doing
did a
whole
lot of
bunch
cool
stuff.
ones, yeah. I mean, we never learned anything off of Justice. We never did anything off of Justice.
We did
one.
We did the middle of Blackened.
Yeah, in the middle of Seek and Destroy.
Right.
And then we did.
We did that once.
And then we
at
did
the-
one.
And we did one.
Yeah. I remember that when we did the middle of one at Gas Monkey Live, I remember my freaking snare cracked, remember? And it sounded like the St. Anger snare. If you click on it, dude, it's horrible. It's horrible. But
That was
So
fun.
after Kill 'Em All, you went to Back in Black.
Yeah.
How'd
so,
that happen?
tell them, Scott.
So Kill
Was
'Em
that
All.
for money?
No, dude, you got to hear this story. You got to hear this story.
So thanks to Chuck, Kill 'Em All got regular opening gigs for Back in Black. And we opened for Back in Black it was called Grover's.
It was
I
called
think,
Grover's.
at the time in Frisco, Texas. And we opened, we played, We played all the songs that they wanted to hear. And then Back in Black went on, and they were delaying, and they were never going on. So finally, they go on, and there's no guitar player, or no Malcolm. So then Malcolm didn't show up that night, and he was apparently, they were having some trouble with him and in the band, and they decided at that time they were going to replace him. So Darren got on the mic that night and said, if anyone wants to audition for Back in Black, see me after the show. And actually, the bass player at the time too, Corey, he was telling me, he's like, hey, I'm leaving the band. You want to play bass? So during that show, they brought some people up to play just for.
I even played drums that night. I remember we did a big old rotation of stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, they were passing around the guitar, and that wasn't part of the audition. But an Angry Drunk Man, and in high school, I mean, I probably knew 40 AC/DC songs that I could pull out of my ass in a moment's notice. And so they said, you want to play a couple songs? So I played the Malcolm part, but again, that wasn't an audition. So I talked to Darren after that, and he says, yeah, I'm serious. So I figured they're going to work it out with their old guitar player, and I'll never hear from him. So then Mike sent me a message and said, hey, if you're interested, let me know. So I talked to my wife, because Back in Black at the time was doing, every weekend, probably about 40, 50 gigs a year. And I said to my wife, would this be something that you'd be okay with? I'd be gone a lot on the weekends, and and keep a full-time job. So she said, yeah, do it. The kids are grown and they're on their own. Just do it, have some fun. So I went and auditioned, and I think a couple of people had auditioned, and I think one of them never showed up, and the other guy they didn't like.
The other guy showed up, and I know we both know. The other guy showed up, pretty well-known guitar player, but he didn't know any of the songs. He just was trying to get it on his merit, I guess.
That's not good.
But it was just a formality. I mean, Scott, once he shows up, he gets the gig. I mean,
Yeah, automatic.
Well, I tried.
Much,
I tried.
And how long was your stint with Back in Black?
So I was Back in Black for 4 years, I think.
Wow.
So
there for a while, we could only play Friday nights, remember? Because you guys were gigging all the time on Saturdays.
Yeah. So that obviously that put stress on Kill 'Em All and Judas Rising at the time. But Judas Rising was we weren't gigging that much in Judas Rising. Kill 'Em All, the intent was never to gig that much, but we started gigging more. So I managed as much as I could, and I ended up leaving Judas Rising first because we weren't really doing much anyways.
It was hard to book that band, man. Whew.
Yeah, and then I juggled Kill 'Em All and Back in Black for a while, and I did a couple of, 2-set nights.
Yeah.
Open for Back in Black, and play and sing and Kill 'Em All, and then play guitar in Back in Black, and great fun, man. I love Back in Black. I love Kill 'Em All. It was great, but I ended up getting burned out from all of it.
Yep.
And that was the last full-time band I was in.
Was Kill 'Em All?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're still on the sub list, man. All you have to do is say the word.
I can't be in Back in Black anymore.
No, on our sub list.
So,
Because I'm fat and I got a beard.
Yeah.
in the middle of all that, you also managed to get Ministry of Hate going.
Ministry of Hate was, so the guitar player in Prowler, the bass player in Prowler, and Ron Lipnicki of Overkill, drummer, who was also in Hades for a little bit for Ground Zero album. Mike Cusimano, the Prowler guitar player, he wanted to put together a project and make it very 80s thrash. But this was, what year?
2011?
Okay.
So
So,
wasn't it
2012?
after the Hades reunion?
I don't remember, man.
I think it was after the Hades.
Yeah.
So it was probably 2000. I want to say 2000.
I think you might be right.
I looked it up.
Was it?
It said band
Here-
started in 2011.
Here's why
Oh,
I
okay.
said that, because before that, I used this recording program, a digital recording software called Reaper, and I was on the Reaper forum, and I got together with this guy from St. Louis, Steve Banks, and a guy in Pennsylvania, Chris Berman, and we actually wrote 6 songs together, and a little project called the Freeze Freeze Tag Assassins.
I remember that one too.
So we never released anything. Actually, all our stuff's only on Reverb Nation. I need to put that on YouTube.
Yeah, that'd be badass,
easy. That'd be easy enough to do. Just to have it so you don't have to go on Reverb Nation. So we ended up writing. It's not thrash, but it's definitely metal. Some doomy, a little bit of progressive metal. That's some of my favorite stuff that I've ever done. But none of us ever met. It was all over the internet. So we would write it was all program drums. So someone would come up with a riff, someone else would put drums, change the riff back and forth, and we'd go back and forth,
I remember that.
cut and paste parts to a song and say, I like it better like this, let's try that. And then we would re-record all our parts. And it was so much fun, and the songs are great, in my opinion. So that was how I learned how to do digital recording. Because when I was in the studio, we were cutting tape,
Yep.
So then Mike approached me and said, I want to do this thrash album, an 80s type thrash album. And so Mike Malinsky, guitar player and bass player, they wrote all the songs. And so they would finish all the songs, the Ministry of Hate songs, and then send them to me.
Because they're all in New Jersey and you're down here, so
Yeah.
y'all never actually got together.
No,
Yeah,
not
that's
for that.
crazy.
So he would send me the songs, and I would double the rhythms, or he would say, I'm doing this, you do this part, and then he would say, I'm going to solo here, you solo there. So it was the same thing. We'd go back and forth in solos, and I would write something, and he would say that's shit, and then I would redo it, and then he'd say, okay, that's good, and then we would make little changes because with digital recording, I mean, really, you don't have to be together. It's and it's so much easier, so much more flexible. So Ministry of Hate was a self-funded, full-length CD, and it's online. You can
It's
buy
so
it.
badass.
But no live shows.
No live shows.
And it's still active, it says.
Yeah. That's still out there. You can buy the CD.
I meant the band says still active, the band
Oh.
is still active.
Oh, maybe there'll
It
be
says
another
2011 to now.
Still
That's
question
what
mark.
it says.
There you
Maybe,
go.
maybe there'll be
So,
another
who
CD.
knows?
It could be.
Well, that was a great trip down memory lane there, and catch us up to date. So nothing else going on right now, 2021, 22?
Actually, yes. So Dan from Hades has another project called Cassius King.
Cassius King, that's been around for a while too.
It's been around for a while, but last year, or the year before, he finalized the lineup, and he got Jason McMaster to sing.
Nice.
And it's also Ron Lipnicki on drums and Jim Shulman playing bass, original Hades. And so I did some spot solos on that. I think, so on Field Trip is the album that's out now. I think I did solos on 3 songs. And then they just finished another album. I forgot what it's going to be called, but that's going to be out in the fall, I think. But again, it's Jason McMaster on vocals. And I think I played solos on another 3 or 4 songs. But yeah, that's just solos. Same thing, so they record an actual studio, and then they would send me the songs, and I would record at my house, digitally, and then I would just send the tracks back to the studio, and then they would mix them there. So I never recorded with them or mixed with them live. But that's good stuff, and Jason McMaster, it's amazing what that guy can do.
Oh, yeah,
on
he's
vocals.
amazing. He just loves to perform and loves to sing.
We used to do shows
Yeah.
with him, remember?
We did, yeah.
We did, what did we call it? We called it Priest Fest. We did one O'Reilly
Sad
show.
Wings.
Yeah, we did, it was Sad Wings and Judas Rising. I think there was,
Yep.
37 songs of Judas Priest
Yeah.
that were not
Not the
repeated.
same, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
'cause
repeated at all.
Yeah, 'cause they did a lot of the songs that I wanted to do.
They did all the old,
right.
stuff. They
And
didn't
then
get anything past like
They
Screaming.
did Tyrant and Singer,
Yeah,
Sinner,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I could never get those songs past.
I asked Jason about
Dixie.
that on my cruise this year, and he said, I'm willing to do it again, I just need the money.
The money's where it's
What is
at,
that?
yeah, that's what it is.
But for Cassius King, with Broken Teeth and Dangerous Toys, Jason's all over the place.
Now Dirty Looks.
And
Dirty Looks, I haven't
yeah.
seen that. And he even had a Metallica tribute called Kill a Mall.
Kill 'em all.
M-A-U-L.
Yeah.
Kill
yeah.
'em all.
We
And
played,
that dude played guitar on that.
I
so-
know, right? We played at a place called the Leaky Barrel in San Antonio, right? I think it was one of Brian White's first gigs. So we went down there, and they had an opening band that was there, and me and Brian were walking out. He's like, man, when is Jason getting here? We said, Jason? He's like, yeah, McMaster, isn't J-Mac playing tonight? I go, no, dude, this is Kill 'Em All from Dallas, not Kill 'Em All from Austin.
Kill 'Em All, M-A-U-L. But Jason does some cool stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Sick killer harmonies, like chilling stuff on the Cash is King. So check that out when it comes out. And,
Have you heard
and
his
I'll-
version
I'll-
of High and Dry from Def Leppard? You guys gotta check that
No.
out, man. It's badass. It's online somewhere. Yeah. And Jason did some stuff for Watchtower, right?
Yeah, he did. He was
Yeah.
on one of their albums.
Yeah, it was
first
one of their
albums.
albums, first
And then Alan
albums.
Tecchio
And then
was
Alan,
too,
yeah.
which was in Haiti.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we know Scott's a thrash man, so we're going to close tonight's show with everybody's top 5 favorite thrash bands of all time. Let's try to put at least one obscure one in there instead of the same big 5, big 6, whatever. But
You want me to put an obscure one in?
well, let's see. We'll see
Well,
what
what
see what
you
we
go
come-
with your list. You're the
You
guest
just come
here.
up with your
Whatever.
list.
You're first.
All right. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's what I started, and that's Kill 'Em All Metallica. That is definitely in the top 5. Next in the top 5 is Bonded by Blood. Kill 'Em All, Bonded by Blood.
We're doing bands.
We're doing
Sorry.
bands?
So Metallica,
Sorry.
Exodus.
Sorry, Exodus. Metallica, let's do band and album.
Okay, cool.
Because there's a lot of Metallica I don't like.
Right, right.
There's no Exodus that I don't like. But
Right.
there's Metallica that I don't like. So Metallica, Kill 'Em All, era, okay. Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning. Master of Puppets too, but Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, my two favorite thrash bands, thrash albums. Bonded by Blood is Exodus' favorite Exodus album. But Tempo of the Damned, Exodus,
I love that album.
oh my God, I can't stop listening.
Blacklist.
I can't stop listening to that album. So Exodus as a whole has been extremely consistent. Megadeth also, as a whole, has been extremely consistent.
But do you prefer their earlier stuff, like, Cells?
I like all Megadeth. Killing Is My Business, when that came out, is just, God, unbelievable.
Mechanics.
Yeah.
Just
You
the
wrote the riffs, you're gonna take
beginning,
them.
and it's just so raw, and if you listen to that album for like production and quality, you're like, what is this crap? Did they record this on an 8-track? But oh my God, it's perfect that way, right? Perfect that way. Thrash band. I gotta go with Slayer, man.
Yep.
Slayer, Hell Awaits is, that's one of the best thrash.
So I like
albums.
Show No Mercy. I think that album just fucking came out of just hit me in the face. I was like, what the hell is this
Right.
crap?
Show No Mercy hit me in the face, same thing. It's like, what is this? Totally killed it, but to me,
Hell Awaits.
Hell Awaits was
Chemical
when,
Warfare.
yeah, just a song, Hell Away, I get chills just
That
thinking
intro,
about
that whole intro is just like.
Oh my God,
That
yeah.
build up.
Yeah, and Slayer's been pretty consistent as a thrash band also. Obscure, let's see. The obvious would be Overkill, Testament.
I got one for you.
All right, I'm gonna go, I don't know if it's obscure, and I don't know if it's total thrash, but Coroner, the album Grin,
Coroner's Killer.
I listen to that song, on my phone. I don't really stream that much, but I'll buy an album I like, put it on my phone, and then just let it run in shuffle mode, right? And Coroner, Tempo of the Damned, the albums I just mentioned, those have been on my shuffle list for as long as I've been listening to music. The Grin album, to me, what was that, 95? 94, 95? Something like that. I remember Alan Tecchio actually brought me that CD. I don't know where he got it, and that's going to be my
Good.
would you call it obscure?
Obscure.
They're not a huge band,
No,
but they're not a small band.
Oh, yeah, they're signed. They're.
But Grin, that album is just unbelievable to me.
What you got, Chuck?
Well, you know me, man. First and foremost is Metallica. Gotta go with
Metallica?
Metallica. But
Metallica.
like as far as
Who's this Metallica
Metallica.
you speak of?
But as far as like thrash, I came to the party a little late. The first thrash album I ever
I
heard.
keep forgetting you're a kid.
I am a kid, but I still came to the party late.
Are you 40 now?
42. But Ride the Lightning was my first ever thrash album. You know what I mean? So I have to go with Ride the Lightning with Kill 'Em All, and then I have to say Armed and Dangerous by Anthrax. Man, I love that album. Again, coming late, I Slayer, South of Heaven for me is what did it for me with Slayer. Then I worked backwards. You know what I mean? Death Angel, I love Death Angel, Act 3.
We'll
you know
count
what I
that
mean?
as obscure one.
So I have two more obscure
Okay.
ones. So I'm gonna give you
Death
6.
Angel, that's right.
Death Angel, Act 3. I love that fucking album. And then one that Scott forgot about that him and I have in common is Nuclear Assault.
So I love
dude.
nuclear.
Oh,
The
Game over, dude.
Hang
Game
the
o-
Pope.
Yep. And then honorable
Hey,
mention, and I don't know
Justice.
if you guys think this is thrash or not, but they have some thrash.
Dude, John Connolly, one of my
Right?
favorite thrash singers.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man, Dan Lilker.
Danny Lilker.
SOD.
And SOD.
We forgot SOD.
Yeah,
Holy
forgot
crap.
SOD. Well, then that's honorable mention.
I call them more punk than thrash.
Yeah,
think?
crossover band.
But he signed my,
Yeah.
Fistful of Metal and my SOD CD when I saw him at Nuclear Assault.
9.
I saw them at the Galaxy Club here.
But honorable mention, what do you guys think of Malaya Rage? Would you consider them a thrash band?
I don't know about, well, I guess they're
What do you got?
well, my favorite Metallica album is Ride the Lightning. I don't know, that album just, I liked Kill 'Em All a lot when it came out, but Ride the Lightning just took it to a whole nother level.
I agree.
Slayer, Show No Mercy, like I said a minute ago, is more thrash, but I like Rain and Blood. I think that's one of the greatest thrash albums ever. Megadeth, same thing we were talking about a minute ago. I like the early albums, Conjuring, Wake Up Dead, Killing Is My Business, Peace Sells. But I like all their albums, all steady throughout the years. Kill the King, it's one of my favorites
yeah,
from the
dude.
2000s. Love all that shit. Exodus, like he said, I love Bonded by Blood when it came out, and I love freaking Tempo of the Damned. Also like Brain Dead off that one album. I can't remember the name. So many albums, but I liked Zetro. I didn't like the singers they brought in after for a while. Dukes, whatever his name.
I'm the same way. I love Dukes, it's great. Exhibit A, Exhibit B.
And I like Paul Bailoff, of course, when he first started.
Right.
But
Yeah, that was it. But Dukes did some great stuff, but something about Zetro.
yeah, it's
Makes
his
me,
voice. Yeah, and I also like Nuclear Assault, Brain Dead. Or Brain Death, is it Brain Death or Brain Dead, that first EP they had?
Brainwashed.
Brainwashed, yeah. But yeah, The Plague and Justice and Game Over.
The Plague is
and all
such a
that.
great song,
It's
dude.
great.
I love
And
that
that song Buttfuck about Vince Neil
Yeah.
thrown in jail, yeah, that's a great one.
Nuclear Assault.
And I guess my obscure one would be Onslaught
Onslaught. There
from
you go.
Germany.
Oh, but I forgot
so
also
many.
Rust in Peace, dude. I gotta put Rust in Peace in there. I mean, masterpiece.
And Fistful of Metal, when it came out, it blew
Fistful
me
of Metal
away.
was
I mean,
great
that
too,
was
but we
just
could,
so
we'd be
fast.
here all night.
I know, we'll
right,
be here
yeah.
all night. Al, what about you?
What about you, Al? What do you got?
My picks for the best thrash bands are SOD, Carnivore, Exciter, Overkill, and Testament.
I was gonna. None of us picked Testament.
Old Testament or
Old Testament
new
or
stuff? I love
Which album, Al?
Practice What You Preach.
Practice What You Preach, dude. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Even though their last 3 albums have been killer.
I was just
The
gonna say.
production has went up a lot. They're still killer. I mean, there's not a weak
Yeah,
album.
I was just gonna say, I think all Testament.
Yeah.
I mean, bands like Testament, Overkill, Exodus, they've all just been
Consistent.
just spot on from day one. And, and there's so many other bands. I mean, like you said, we'd be here all
Oh, we'll be
night.
here all night.
But just all
Yeah,
killer.
we're gonna cut this off though, because otherwise we'll be talking all night. So,
Wait. Okay.
yeah, wait. But I remember that. So, I guess that's it tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot about the New Jersey, New York metal scene back in the '80s. Since most of you weren't there, and I wasn't either, but I wanted to be. And we would like to thank Scott for coming in. And Chuck always going to have the last word here.
Well,
Unless Jeeves wants to say something.
Jeeves. Oh, yeah, we
okay.
forgot to ask Jeeves something tonight. But don't forget, guys, to check us out on all our social media platforms. We're on YouTube under Godfather TV right now. We have a Facebook page, Jeff, Godfather TV as well. And on Instagram, we're on Godfather TV DFW. And also, we're going to leave this with Al for final thought. So,
not too much left to say on this one. Thrash metal, old school is the best. I like it. Hope you do too. See you next time.
All right, thanks, Al. And again, letters, MUYA. See you later. Cut.
This is Eddie. This is Twisted Kane, and you're watching Godfather TV.